I'll never forget that. We ran back to the Borgata after we made that score, hit a daily double, ended up getting back about $850 or something, but needed it desperately to avoid going to the cash machine. And it's always a little sad when you're among the 11 or so people that are lined up at the various ATMs around any casino destination at 12:01 because it's a new day. You can get new cash, but you might be out of it before you even get to breakfast. It's worth having these limits, I guess, on your ATM card. No, Lubie? Like, what's the maximum you could draw off your ATM card if you put
usually 500. It's usually 500.
Okay,
I don't know if it's around.
It's at a nickel somewhere around
that
category. And lately, my withdrawals have been frequent and even more generous.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
It's funny how the degenerate philosophy goes completely in 180 degrees against the grain. Mike Lubie Lubitz. Good morning, everybody. Good to be with you here. And that's all part of it, right? Because the ATM cash limit that it allows you to get usually is for the protection of the fact that maybe your card gets stolen. So only, a certain amount of money can be withdrawn at one time during a given day. And by that time, you have time to contact the bank. And, if that withdrawal is made, I guess you get your money back. But in degenerate life, it's a protection against yourself. So you can't go, after you blow through 500 at the track, you can't just go get another 500 right away and blow through that. And therefore, all of a sudden, a day where you were thinking, well, you know what, I'll go out there and just have a couple of drinks, talk to some people, maybe nurse a stick one way or the other. Forget about that. All of a sudden, you're down a dime and it's only Wednesday and you're thinking, how am I going to get this money back by the end of the week? Especially now with these times of inflation, my friends. Although a little bit of alleviation there from the pressure. I went to the gas station yesterday. I had to fill up my tank. I think my tank, it might hold 14 gallons in my Volkswagen Tiguan that I got from Deal Volkswagen at an unbelievable price. And by the way, people, I recommend this car 1,000%.
Keep in touch with them. My car's on its last few months.
We're all good, with the people there. Yeah.
I could
Mr.
use
Big from Deal Volkswagen is still around.
Discount.
Huge fan of the show. And, so that's all good. Anna will take care of it. Yeah, you're all right. And that would be the only place I would go at this point because, wow, I know people have a thing. I thought you had a thing being Jewish about driving a German car. Is that still in vogue? I don't know. I
don't blame the Germans anymore. I'm just sort of weird about it, but they have the pre-owned and they have Volvos and they have all different kinds of things at the pre-owned and they do a really good job with the pre-owned. So that's where I was targeting.
Yeah. They can pretty much get you any car. If you're in the car business and you own a dealership and you had it for a while, you can pretty much latch on to any car for anybody at a reasonable price. But no, I would recommend a Tiguan, though, Lubie. Are you thinking about starting a little Lubie family?
An SUV, yeah.
Is there going to be a little Lubie? You want to have a nice, safe car where you got a high driving perspective, especially now these maniacs on 95, and with most cars that are packing heat, you're not at shooting level. So that's a good thing. If you're in Miami, that's also something to take into consideration. Right? Have you had the tide line, when I had the house on the water there and you could tell, like low tide, high tide and all of that by the line, there's a line there where, okay, so the guy's going to have to shoot up. There's a good chance he misses.
When they sell you the car, they incorporate that in the pitch. Like, if you notice, we're up there.
It's getting wild out there, people. I don't know. Every day there's some kind of... The first 11 items on the news are all shootings now. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, well, that's been a while.
Not just mass shootings, but every day the first 6, 7 stories are, okay, another guy shot here in Lauderhill. A 2-year-old took a gun and shot himself in the chest. You're like, what? What the hell is happening out there? All right, we know what's happening in the world of sports, and that's what we're here to discuss, because we want to stick in the toy department here. I don't know if I want to get heavily into any kind of political stuff. My friend, a giant Trump supporter who I play tennis with, Big Jack, he loves Donald Trump, and he believes all of this stuff is nonsense that's going on, that it's all bullshit. That every single thing that they pointed out just points to the fact that it's a Democratic witch hunt to make sure that Trump doesn't win the presidency.
But it'll be Republicans admitting it. That's my thing. Like Republicans are like, yeah, he called me. Yeah, here's the text. Oh, here's the email.
How is Tommy Tuberville a key figure in all of this? That's the amazing thing to me. I remember Tommy Tuberville. He had a hot wife. I don't know if he's still married, but I remember, just thinking, wow, this guy has got a maid in shade. He was probably making $500,000 a year. I don't know if he was making that much as a assistant. Tommy Tuberville at one time was offensive coordinator for the Canes. Was he not? Tommy Tuberville.
Yep.
Yeah. And, seemed like a real decent guy, but wow, who knew that he was that far to the right? I mean, further to the right than Attila the Hun. And then he became a Trump confidant, and Trump's calling him during this whole Capitol thing while Tuberville's trying to get out of the building. And Tommy goes, hey, listen, Donnie, I got to go. I don't have time to talk. Go fuck yourself. And that was that. But no, my friend, Big Jack, he still insists that it's all a bunch of crap.
Sure.
That the best thing that could happen in this country is the return of Donald Trump to office as president number 47. He'd be 45 and 47. Change numbers. But, wow, can you imagine 4 more years of this chaos? It's taken a couple of years to even get back to the point where we're in bad shape again. Thank you, Donald. That was great. I tried watching a Marlins game for a little while last night. Some of the people, Eric, will be happy to know that, wow, I mean, if you were ever going to look at just a classic error made by a manager, now I don't know that it would have made a difference in the long run because the Marlins were trailing at the time, and they ended up losing the game by a wide margin, 11-2. They had Trevor Rogers. What happened to Trevor Rogers, man? This guy looked like he had so much promise. He was one of the best pitchers
baseball.
The Marlins have brought along, and that's saying a lot because they've had many guys that have come in and flashed a little bit, then tailed off and maybe gone elsewhere and done well. The Marlins traded a lot of their young pitchers that had shown some potential, some to favorable results, so where the guy just never really did pan out, and others gone on and done okay. But all that being said, I thought Trevor Rogers, he looked great last year, didn't he, Lubie? Am I mistaken about this?
He was
My
great.
memory foggy? I thought he was terrific.
He's one of the best ERAs in baseball. I mean, I'm sure his record sucked because he played for the Marlins, but his ERA was tremendous. Strikeouts, and he was great.
You were thinking you were going to have Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, and Trevor Rogers, solid 1, 2, 3. And then if they could find the other spots, Alicia Hernandez, I mean, he's always injured. He may as well change his name to Tommy John, Alicia Hernandez. That guy. Exactly. All right. But anyway, I try to watch it because, look, it's the local team here in South Florida where we're broadcasting and originate the program from. And most of our audience, I would imagine, here on South Florida Live are people from South Florida interested in the local scene. It's really the only thing going on sporting-wise. I mean, we can sit there and speculate what the mastermind is thinking with the Miami Heat. But we'll leave that to Ira Winderman, who probably has like 4 pages every Sunday on the Miami Heat, which is one of the beefs about the sports coverage in this area. Nothing against Winderman. I mean, he does a great job. The guy knows everything, as insightful as you'll possibly find, and breaks down, ultimate minutia on basketball, as to, whether Max Strus should play 31 minutes or 31 and a half minutes a game, and who should get that half minute. And all of this stuff, they get into just immense detail, as they do with Scoop Skolnick and his crew on 5 Reasons Sports Network. And it seems like most of the media coverage here focuses on the Heat. You did have a big story with the Florida Panthers. They introduced Matt Tkachuk. And the more you look at that, actually, it seemed outrageous at first, right, that they would trade Huberdeau. Now they're getting a star back. And you mentioned they had, Uyghur?
Yeah, Cameron Uyghur. He was one of the top 15.
He was good.
What's Norris defenseman? He was supposedly one of the top 15 in whatever that award was. I'm like, Jesus.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
I know it's not goalie. That's Vezina.
It's not the goalie.
And it's not the Bing, Lady Bing, which, you would think for a hockey player might be slightly insulting to receive the Lady Bing trophy because it means that you're kind of a schmink, right? You're not hitting anybody, apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get my stick up your nose. I meant to shove it up your ass. These guys are rough, man. The Lady Bing, I don't know if that's. I guess it's more for like just being a great overall guy or something. I'm not sure.
I don't know the Lady Bing.
I couldn't name you the divisions in hockey. I couldn't name you. I couldn't tell you what team is in what division, and yet we're hockey experts at this point and able to be highly critical of every move that was made. But when you look at it on balance, I didn't realize this. See, I thought that Tkachuk wanted out of Calgary and that they were more than willing to deal him because he was not going to sign a long-term deal, but he did. Now, did he sign that? Was this some kind of NHL sign and trade? Because he's locked up for like the next 7 years.
It was 8 years, and it was contingent, and it's actually not that bad. The money, it's like $9 million a year. It was a part of the trade was that he had an extension waiting.
Well, you don't have $20 million players in the NHL.
Yes, not.
$10 million is like a top salary. I mean, if you look at the free agent transactions that took place, a lot of them were like 7 years, $70 million. Like your man Sergei, my eye, Bobrovsky. A goalie with one eye is not really a good thing, right? You don't want some guy with an eye patch, showing up at the press conference there, and you're thinking, what is this? Some guy out of a spy movie, or is that our new goaltender? Incredible, some Goldfinger character, right?
Exactly. The long guy.
Yeah, but 10 million looked to me like 10 million was top level. I'm sure there are guys that make more than that, but you don't see guys like in the NBA where Caldwell Pope, Contavious Caldwell Pope gets 3 years, 30 million at 38 years old. Yeah, you don't see that kind of deal in the NHL. But nonetheless, they introduced this guy, and it started to make sense. Now they traded like a draft pick, Uyghur, who was a real good player, and of course Jonathan Huberdeau, who was the best player on the team last year.
Yes.
And had been around for a long time with the Panthers, and was tightly entwined with the fabric of the Panthers and their whole presence as a team in the community. I mean, I don't know that he was the face of the team. I'm not sure they really have a face, do they? The Panthers, do they have a face of the team? I mean, Sasha Barkov, I wouldn't recognize him if he was online in front of me at the store, would you?
I was going to say.
I've seen him a million times.
But I don't know what he looks like.
Right? You're fighting over a parking space, You're trying to get to a show at the Funky Biscuit, then you don't realize, wow, this is a guy that plays in the NHL. He looks big. But I wouldn't know it was Sasha Barkov, would you? No. I mean, other guys, back in the day, I mean, a lot of these guys were very recognizable to the general public. I'm not sure that they are so much. I don't know that that's any great fault of the team or just the evolution of the way professional sports has gone when it comes to interaction and real, kind of symmetry with the community. I'm not sure that we really have that at any level with any of our teams anymore. The Dolphins trying to do it, but do you recognize a lot of Dolphin players publicly? No. You don't see them around. NBA always has been distant and aloof in that regard, although they're the most recognizable because you see their faces the most clearly while they're playing their game. Baseball, nobody cares. That's unfortunate. Right, a bunch of Marlin players, with the exception of what? Who's popular on the Marlins? I guess Alcantara is gaining popularity because of his ability. He's a very humble guy.
They like
Chisholm, is a character. And he's, a guy that you would think everybody, that was a sports fan might be excited. Okay, he's showing up at some mall somewhere. You might come out there, bring little Johnny to get an autograph. And Miggy is like the face of the Marlins, right? Mr. Marlin, Miggy Rojas.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, like a 240 hitter, I guess he's more like a 260 hitter. We love Miggy. I don't mean to imply for a second that he's not worthy of our affections, but it's not like you're talking about Dave Concepcion there, right? Some guy that's going to hit you 25 home runs and bat 300 for the year, while also playing a dynamite defensive shortstop. Anyway, I'm trying to watch this game last night, and it's abysmal. And Mattingly, who's been receiving a lot of criticism. I mean, you could see this. You were screaming at the screen that they had just brought this guy Drury up, and Cincinnati somehow at home, a team that what are they on the season? They're like 37 and 58, 37 and 58 on the year.
They're one of the worst teams in baseball.
This is a crappy team. I mean, they've been bad ever since the Big Red Machine dissipated. I don't know. When was the last time the Cincinnati Reds were a team that you went, whoa, man, you got to be afraid of the Reds? I mean, they've made a couple of representative showings here and there, but
No.
You're thinking annually sub 500. I mean, holy March shot. Where's Shotzi taking a dump on home plate when you need him? Not there anymore. It's a strange history the Cincinnati Reds have for one of the fabled franchises in all of sports, correct? I mean, just a weird history that they have with Marge, with the swastikas and all of this. I mean, come on. What was baseball thinking while they were allowing that to go on, Mr. Donald Sterling?
Oh, good.
Unbelievable. But anyway, so it is a shitty team. The Cincinnati Reds, they suck. They're terrible. They're one of the worst teams in baseball.
Yes.
I believe it's either, after last night's game, it's either 8 straight or 9 straight that Cincinnati has beaten the Marlins on their home field. Holy Crosley Field. I mean, what are we talking about? Vada Pinson and Frank Robinson coming back? Unbelievable that they've been dominated by this lousy team on the road, and it's one of the problems that this franchise has. It becomes very difficult to forge any type of belief that they're really ever going to amount to anything. It's almost impossible to conceive. Here they are again, 6 games under 500. They get bludgeoned last night, 11-2. Mattingly has Trevor Rogers in the game, and he is struggling. This was the most boring inning of baseball I think I've ever watched. Until all of a sudden, I sort of had an awakening there, and I realized I wanted to turn this game off quickly because Rogers is, he's going 3-2 on every count. He's throwing a lot of slop into the middle of the plate. Cincinnati, gets a couple of guys on base. Looks like he might wriggle out of the inning, and then they bring up this guy Drury for Cincinnati, who's having a pretty good year. And they put the stat up that he annihilates left-handed pitching, just absolutely slaughters it. It is super tough in this situation with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. And you're going to allow this lefty who's staggering to pitch to one more hitter when you know you're not going to let him pitch the next inning anyway. They're 2 away. Yeah, so what does he do? He puts one up there. I mean, you're talking the holy Steve Moderano. Hey, Steve, yeah, they want meatballs on table 12. And he just puts together a meatball. It looks like a clincher. And here's Rogers. He lobs one into the middle of the plate there, and boom. I mean, I think first pitch, home run, 3-run shot out of here. And then Mattingly takes him out of the game, down 6-2. But the game essentially is lost at that point.
With this offense, yep.
And I'm thinking, boy, if you ever were going to leave a guy in one hitter too long, it was allowing this guy Drury, a right-handed hitter, to face a struggling lefty who was going to be maybe getting one more out anyway. I mean, don't you bring somebody in with guys on base, 2 guys on base in a game that you're very much in? They stole a run to get to 3-2 in the top half of that inning. They literally stole a run. Your man J.J. Bleday has a couple of doubles already.
Oh, he's up. Oh, nice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's been playing. I came up his first at bat. I saw it the other day. It was in that 1-0 game that they lost to Pittsburgh on Saturday night. And he drew a walk in his first major league at bat. So you might want to stash that one away for, if we're still on the air 25 years from now, well, what would I be then? I'd be 96.
That's about right.
I'll still need the money. So, hopefully with all of this development of new gambling channels, we'll be able to find a spot there somewhere, right? I mean, my phone is ringing less than Gary McCord's, whose phone just rang from the Live Tour. They want Gary McCord to come out of retirement now. I don't know if he means to be retired, but they cut him loose from CBS in 2019, which I think was a giant mistake because I like McCord. And who didn't? I mean, do you not need some infusion of humor into a golf broadcast?
Oh, geez, are you kidding me?
Does it have to sound like you're getting a press conference from a doctor who just did a brain operation on a cancer patient? It really does. I mean, that's kind of the pall that is cast over golf. Oh, my God. What a pity. What a tragedy. So unfortunate that we're out here today. There's a cloud in the sky. Can you believe it? And you're like, what? What are you complaining about? What are you crying about? You're at a golf course, and you're going to watch these guys who were amazing. I mean, just knock the living daylights out of the ball. And, with a precision that you can't even imagine if you ever picked up a club. Right? How did they get that thing to spin back? When it comes back like a yo-yo, you ever hit one of those shots? I've hit a few by accident, and it's always amazing, right? When you're looking, go, wow, look at that! That looks like a real golf shot there.
Like a golf shot.
Then I just started sculling everything. And how did you go out of the game of golf, people? I mean, you still play, Lubie, but you're horrible, right?
A while. No, I'm playing a while. I'm horrible. I haven't played in years.
Do you ever hit one like straight?
Yeah, you hit nice. Once in a while, you hit a nice ball, and you're like, oh, this isn't that hard. Then you can't do it again for the next 10 shots.
It's a game I couldn't. I understand why I wasn't good at it, but I couldn't believe that I wasn't good at it. It's a game that I thought, wow, the ball's it's just sitting there, for God's sake. You don't have to worry about rotation, spin. Is it a 2-seamer, a 4-seamer, a split finger? I mean, holy Mike Scott. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff, right? What about just darting all over the place? Sitting there on a tee. Ed Norton. Hello, ball.
Exactly. Just the ball. Hello, ball.
Yeah, I left the game in disgrace, and I played a lot of golf. I really did. I had the golf obsession when I first moved to South Florida. I couldn't believe that you could play golf all day for like $5. We used to go out to that course. It was called Hollywood Lakes, and it was a mosquito hatchery built on an anthill. It was horrendous, but for $5 you could walk the course, and most of the people were walking. I don't even know if they had like the only guy that had a cart was like the ranger, who would come around and make sure that you weren't hitting more than 7 balls every time you lined up to hit a shot. Because that was the other thing too, right? You would drop your entire bag. Say you're a 160 from the pin, first one, dead center lake. Drop another one, right into the woods. Drop another one, hits off the screen window of a condo just to the left side. And finally, you would hit one, claiming it was for style points,
like, nice.
and would go on the green. And you would tell the other guys, I'll just play that one. All right. You know what I mean? Like wandering all over the place trying to find these other errant balls. And then you were down to the balls that you had found in the water that had like a giant smile, as they used to call it. They weren't even round anymore. You were playing those because you had lost so many during the course of the round. That was a funny course, too, because the fairways were, I don't know why, they just never dried out. You could go 100 days without rain. It could be California conditions, and still you would hit a drive, and if you hit it with any kind of trajectory on it, there was a good chance it would plug so deeply in the middle of the fairway that you wouldn't be able to find the ball. Middle of the fairway, lose a ball. I guess that's why it was only $5 to play. This was a long time ago, though. Long time ago. Anyway, I left the game, and I couldn't do anything anymore. I had gotten to the point where I could sort of manufacture a game and maybe put it together for 5-6 holes even, hitting decent drives and hitting representative-looking iron shots that had the right trajectory on them and landed on the green somewhere and maybe within reasonable distance of the hole. And, you might be able to go par a couple of holes, maybe even throw in a birdie, get a bogey on one, come back, and reel it in a little bit. And then, eventually it would, unravel and maybe, you were starting to take a few 6s and 7s on, par 3s. But how many are you going to put in the water, Def? But then I lost it completely. I don't know. I went tin cup, and I couldn't hit a shot anywhere near where it was intended to go, and that was it. I remember I was in like one of these charity celebrity scrambles there, where I was the alleged celebrity in a group of 4. Imagine the disappointment of those people putting up 150 a player, right? The other guys were like Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas is over here, Shula's playing with a group, and they got Defo, some scrub radio announcer that is doing afternoon sports updates.
That's great.
But yeah, I really like your work.
You felt bad.
Right, you see them going to the tournament director there going, really?
Like, who the hell?
Forrest? Who the hell is this guy? This schlep.
This Melonby.
Right. And then they're hoping that you can play because they're figuring, wow, you're the celebrity or whatever, that you must be good. And, while I was capable at that time, eventually when it started to fall completely apart, I was an embarrassment out there. And I remember taking my Tiger Shark clubs that I'd gotten off the former race announcer, Phil Saltzman. I told this story a few times where Phil was the race caller for many years at Calder Race Course. And, he would substitute here at Gulfstream and Hialeah. I think he also did some calling at Pompano Park when the harness racing was big down here. Real character, Phil Saltzman. He was, just perfect. If you want to have a poster child for the degenerate brethren, Phil Saltzman would have been that guy. May he rest in peace. I always liked Phil. Hey, sweetheart, can you make a bet for me? Now, he brought his own money. It wasn't like one of those deals, although he probably owed everybody, Phil, because when he won, there was a big line at the announcer's booth trying to get their cash. And you could tell when he won because you could kind of hear it in his voice that he was finally off the hook there. And they're not going to get her today. Anyway, Phil had a penchant for dealing in, I don't know how else to put this, hot merchandise. He sold a lot of stuff. VCRs were big at the time. And I think I've related this story a few times where Phil calls me and says, hey, can you believe this shit? My car was stolen. I said, well, I mean, you have insurance, whatever. He goes, yeah. But you know what? That's not the problem. They found it. I said, what do you mean they found it? So why is that a problem? He says, because all of those VCRs are in the trunk. So I'm saying, well, you have an obvious out there. I mean, you just say that whoever stole your car was moving this hot merchandise. You don't have to lay claim to that.
Yeah.
And he said, well, yeah, but then they're probably going to take the VCRs as evidence. I'm like, well, the fact that your fingerprints are all over them probably shouldn't be too damaging to your case, that you had nothing to do with it and no knowledge whatsoever of what contents there were in your trunk. So he actually decided just to leave the car. He didn't want to deal with it. Just like, no, that ain't my car. Found the wrong one. But he sold me these Tiger Shark clubs, which also I'm assuming fell off a truck somewhere. And I remember when I got my set of golf clubs, they came in a brown paper bag. That's how out of the trunk of his car. But I used them for a long, long time. They weren't necessarily anything. They had kind of a thick. The club head itself was very thick, and it supposedly gave you a little bit of balance that helped out. It was like the principle behind the Alien Wedge. I don't know if you remember this club. Alien Wedge, yes. Jerry Pate was the endorser of the Alien Wedge, and when I mentioned it to him, me with my joking style, like I'm naturally going to bring up the most embarrassing thing about the guy's career, and not meaning to make anything. Icebreaker there for the conversation. Hey, Jerry, you got the Alien Wedge in the bag? And as soon as I said that, here's Jerry Pate, like a fabled, distinguished golfer who was known as a very, gracious and, affable person. And he looks at me and goes, don't ever mention that fucking thing again. Like, Jerry, the first time I used it, I swear to God, I hit a shot that was just like perfect. Like you would have thought I was Ken Venturi doing one of those demonstrations.
You loved it. He hated it.
I loved it. Well, he got stiffed by the people that manufactured it, and he had been endorsing it for years, and he never got paid. So,
jeez,
that was the reason it was a story. How was I to know that, right? That the people from the Alien Wedge who were advertising it for $19.95, and if you buy right now, you also get this putter that you can't miss with, that has like a sonar tracking right to the hole. You also get that thrown in for free. But did I think for a second that they were a bogus company? They were going to stiff Jerry Pate, the great Jerry Pate? No. No knowledge of it whatsoever. But I ended up, I had such a horrible day. I was about, 11 holes into this charity event. I hadn't hit a shot that was in play yet in a scramble. And I took those Tiger Shark clubs that Phil Saltzman had sold me out of the trunk of his car several years prior and chucked them right into the lake. And I don't know, Serena, it's worth thinking about. Walked away from the game forever.
Oh, that's great.
I haven't picked up a club since. People assume I golf, too, because you're in the sports business. And naturally, hey, how's your golf game? I mean, it sucks. That's all there is to it. Absolutely sucks. Remember, that was a big thing. Sportscasters used to spend a lot of time talking about their golf game. And I'm thinking, I have a golf game that defies all aerodynamic law. Shots fly in directions that you would have to think that this was evidence that there was life on other planets. Anyway, McCord's going to the Live Tour, apparently. If they make him an offer, he's telling him he can't refuse.
I heard that he was offered, but he was like, he didn't automatically say yes. That's interesting.
Oh, no, it sounds like he's ready to dive on this thing, man, McCord. He's out of work right now. He's 74 years old, as he said. And I took this to heart when I read this morning that, you know what, here I am at 71. It's not like the phone rings every day with another offer. So Live Tour money, whatever. Yeah, Faraday already in. They're supposedly going to try. Do you think they offer Charles Barkley like $50 million to just be exclusively announcing Live Tour events? 8 events a year. Can you imagine?
Well, that's what I don't get is why he can't do both. But I guess Liv wants him to be exclusive. Like, why would you care? Like, knowing him, he would mention you guys across platforms. Like, why wouldn't you want that? Like, I don't get why you need him to be exclusive.
Oh, no. The Live Tour guys don't care if he works somewhere else. TNT. And their corporate sponsors might find a certain insensitivity being employed there on the part of Charles Barkley. They don't mind the fact that he had stiffed a casino for $400,000 and was being taken to court. He's still the biggest endorser of FanDuel. Correct? Hypocrisy. Yes. Hypocrisy is a funny thing to flirt with when
I think it's funny. I don't think TNT has the power to do that. The BJ still has a little bit of power to threaten players. That whole show is made by Barkley. I mean, all those guys have gotten better because of Barkley, but without Barkley, that show sucks.
Without Barkley, you're probably not watching it. Yeah.
Well, TNT doesn't have
a couple of things. Yeah.
I mean, they're not. They don't. He doesn't give it. If he's making millions on Live, that'll be
$10 million a year he gets from TNT, Barkley. $10 million, and the theory is he makes another $10 million. He's in every commercial, right?
Yeah. He's done a lot.
I mean, there's nothing he isn't endorsing. Him and Shaq. I'm surprised Kenny Smith doesn't have more endorsements just from the fallout. That used to be a nice thing about when I was working the first team with Joe Rose and Steve Goldie Goldstein. There were so many people that wanted to advertise on the show that even if you had no affiliation whatsoever in a certain category, the other two guys would have already had their services, claimed by companies. And then they say, well, of course, let's get another mortgage company on the air. Defo, why don't you do this one? Oh, yeah, sure. That sounds good to me. Sure, they're reputable. Some people would try and tie up all three guys. I mean, imagine that competing, for the endorsement services of radio personalities here in town. Those were the days.
That's a dream. Yeah, I miss those days.
We would do a 3-minute segment and then have an 11-minute commercial session and then come back and do another 2 minutes. Does that sound familiar? It does. I don't know that that's the best way to pull off a broadcast. Anyway, all that being said, and, this started out as a simple intro to the fact that, wow, I mean, we are one lane baseball town.
Oh, yeah.
Mattingly should have lifted Trevor Rogers. How he doesn't pull that guy. Now, with all of the charts and the sabermetrics, they just put a stat up on TV, Lubie. Just put a stat up saying that Drury kills lefties. Now, they don't have a monitor in the dugout there? I love Don Mattingly, but you couldn't possibly look over to the side there and go, oh, wait a minute, man. Maybe I ought to pull this guy and put a right-hander in. No?
Well, what's weird is they overdo it so often that would be the time you would think they would follow. Like, look, I feel like if a pitcher is dominating, then sometimes you got to throw those numbers out. We've talked about that with the Rays.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if he was doing well, but he was staggering.
But he's not exactly. None of the Marlins pitchers outside of Alcantara have been that dominant that you're scared to look at the stats and go, all right, Rogers, come here.
Each pitch looked like he was just laboring to even get the ball up to the plate. It really did, Trevor Rogers. He didn't have it. He hasn't had it all season long. He clearly was just wandering around. I mean, it wasn't like he was in some kind of zone where you said, oh, my God, who is this guy? Koufax? It wasn't happening.
Yeah.
You could see that he was very, very vulnerable at that point. He just walked the guy, and, he was missing badly. And when he was throwing strikes, I mean, they literally, they had spaghetti sauce on him, man. It was unbelievable. This was meatballs and regatta cheese. You couldn't miss this pitch that Drury hit out of the park. He was right down the middle of the plate. A hanging slider that was breaking into a right-hander, and boom, it was gone. I did switch over to MLB Network. They were showing the Phillies and the Braves, and a fool and his money are easily parted, Lubie. But this in-game betting thing, it's a good thing I don't have the phone app, because I would have picked it up last night. This is interesting. MLB Network, I mean, with Pete Rose, we were talking about this at length yesterday, who should be the poster child for Major League Baseball right now, because he was the original degenerate that was betting on these games.
If anyone knows gambling.
He was so into it that he couldn't even help himself when he was managing the Reds. He went by that sign every day, Pete, don't do it. Pete, don't do it. It just said, Pete, don't do it.
Exactly.
He would go into the clubhouse there. They even had I'm sure, they had a sign in his office there saying, Pete, don't do it. Don't bet on these games. All right? Please, just don't do it, Pete. Manage the game. You're great. You're going to the Hall of Fame. You got nothing to worry about. Bet your horses, bet your football. Yeah. Just don't bet on the Reds.
Yep.
All right. Pete was betting like 10 games a day, though. He was very much like my former radio partner many years ago, Sonny Hirsch, where Sonny had the old score phone, which, remember that? You had a pager that could give you sports scores. I don't know. You're too young to remember
I don't know the sport. Yeah, I don't know this.
I mean, this had to be circa 80s, right?
80s,
early 90s. Score phone came out. And Sonny had action on every major league game. He bet the entire board. Whatever is, going, he had a bet on it. I don't know if he was making 10-team parlays or whatever. And it would be reflected in the broadcast because he would all of a sudden just get very upset and start talking in sort of disparaging tones about what was going on the field. And you're like, Sonny, what's the matter with you, man? It's like doing baseball. Talking about college kids here. I can't believe he made that play. I'm like, and it had nothing to do with the game itself. It was that he just found out that the Phillies had scored 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth and tipped his 18 parlay the wrong direction. And he would like slam a hot dog, against the wall, and then all of a sudden become very terse in the broadcast. What do you think about that play, Defo? It's like, and I'm sleeping, like, Sonny, when you ever ask me a question during a fucking inning? Never. I mean,
You haven't talked in 3 innings. Now he wants you.
all of a sudden, yeah, center fielder should have called that play. He had it all the way, man. It was a high pop.
That's classic.
Anyway, so I'm watching on MLB Network. Phillies Braves. Bravos, creeping. There were 2 games outside of the Mets right now, as the Met fans are thinking that this is going to be their year, and it may well be their year. We don't know. DeGrom and Scherzer's going to pitch against the Yankees. I think tomorrow the Subway Series is on. That's a big thing. And Scherzer, I think, goes tomorrow night. That guy, is it Talon that goes? And my son does his taxes, believe it or not. I don't want to give anything away, but the guy's making like $10 million a year for the Mets. I don't even think he needs to do anything. I don't even think he goes outside. Aside from that, right? He just has like a check with a W-2 for like $10 million. Incredible. Anyway, he's been a good story for the Mets. He might have been there. I mean, he might be their best pitcher so far.
Taijuan Walker.
Walker. Yeah, he's going tonight against the Yankees, and
Jesus.
I mean, is this a big deal? It's on the back page of the Post, right, Lubie? Here, talk about how our sports section reflects the attitude of the people.
City, yeah.
Okay, so back page. All right, well, you knew that, right? Well, look at this, though, Libby. Here you go. Once you get to the sports section, you have 1, 2. I'm doing a little demonstration here for our video people. 3, 4. These are pages of the New York Post sports section. 5, 6.
Oh, Jesus.
7, 8 pages. 8 pages of the sports section about tonight's ball game and the series, the Subway Series.
Oh,
Mets
my
Yankees.
God, just the one series.
It's a regular season game. It's like the Mayor's Trophy game, only it actually counts this time. All right, John Lindsay, I think, was mayor of New York when they started the Mayor's Trophy game, and it was so unusual, the Mets playing the Yankees, that it was like the biggest of deals. It actually felt like a World Series game, the Mayor's Trophy game. Even if I don't know, did they play scrubs in the Mayor's Trophy game? Andy might remember. I mean, what did the lineups look like? Because it was an exhibition; it didn't count. It was like in the middle of the season too. They were just all of a sudden throwing a game in there. The Mayor's Trophy game, Mets-Yankees on an off day. But it's a big deal now. And, of course, there was a Mets-Yankees World Series. What year was that? Was that like 2000?
Early 2000s.
That long ago? I don't know.
No, yeah. I was in high school, I think. It was early 2000s.
Yeah. Anyway, and 8 pages on baseball on a series between the Mets and the Yankees. 8 pages. So, and what do we? I would imagine that if the Marlins game even drew a paragraph in both of the local newspapers, I would be surprised.
That's the thing. Like, even if the Marlins were winning, I don't know if we pay that much attention right now. Like, the Marlins would have to be near the end of like a World Series run for us to pay that much attention.
They would have to win back-to-back World Series for us to even acknowledge that opening day was on a certain date. No, back-to-back World Series. What are the odds of that? 0, right? The Marlins winning back-to-back World Series. I don't know that they ever win another one the way this franchise is going. It's hard to envision, isn't it?
Yeah, they used to at least draft well and sign well that every few years they'd be in the running. They haven't done that in forever. Like, what's so funny is they did all the retooling to try and be like the Astros or the Dodgers and build from the Yankees. That's what the Yankees build from the pitching. Yeah, they did that. They have no hitting and none of the pitchers.
I mean, lackluster. They are the definition of lackluster when it comes to any kind of excitement generated by a team. They did win that 7 in a row earlier in the year after getting off to a lousy start. They're a little closer to 500 in one-run games, although still sub 500, something like 16 and 21 in one-run games, which, they've played more one-run games than any team.
Yep.
And, they've blown games. I am a jinx. I am the Rachel Nichols of the Miami Marlins. Every time I turn on the TV, something bad happens. Every time. They'll have bases loaded, one away, ground ball, double play the minute I turn it on. Like a simple one where the guy's out by like 30 feet going to first base. It's not even close, right? Hey, there you go. 5-4-3 if you're scoring at home. Just routine shit happens in the negative when I'm watching the Marlins play. So I tune away from the game, and I'm watching the Braves and the Phillies. It's the 7th inning, and the Braves are up 4-3. Max Fried is pitching for the Braves. He's given up 3 runs, but he's reaching a pitch limit where you're thinking, he's not going to go the distance in this ballgame.
Yeah.
All right. So now MLB Network, holy Pete Rose, the entire time they're showing this game, and they were doing like a Peyton Manning type of thing, which was kind of interesting, and it featured It featured Mike Lowell, former Marlin, and a real likable guy. Of course, probably made a bigger name for himself with the Red Sox and those World Series teams where he was a clutch performer.
He was a World Series MVP, yeah.
Yeah. You had Cliff Floyd, I think, was also part of this broadcast.
Yeah.
Cliff Floyd, real good guy. I mean, it couldn't have been a better guy. He was here with the Marlins for many years, and one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. As was Mike Lowell. I mean, just a super nice guy. And those guys were more entrenched, I think. Is there a community to be entrenched in? I guess for the Marlins. I mean, do they have to go and this is proven to be a misnomer. I don't know, the Spanish interest in baseball, which is supposed to be so keen and acute that they would sell out every night. Just having various Latin influenced themes for their ball games. It hasn't worked, right? The people, that live by the stadium there are absolutely, I would think, have zero inclination to even attend a game.
Oh, yeah, they're not going to the games. They're
Right?
trying to get people to park there. No one cares. They're probably pissed because it was supposed to be a boon for parking, and no one goes.
Right. They have the one parking garage, which don't ever park on the top floor if there's a crowd there.
Never
If you go to
get
like
out.
a Yankee game, wow,
Never get out.
stuck in that forever. Whoever designed that might have also done the Golden Glades interchange. But the whole no blocky thing doesn't work. I mean, because there are 2 nights a year where it would come into play.
Yeah, you don't have to park there.
Although, yeah, the gas station. Do you park at that Shell station? Like, it's a little bit of a hike, but it was only like $10.
No blocky a few times,
and guaranteed no blocky. Guaranteed no blocky.
See, that's good. We've done no blocky a few times, and then the last time it didn't
blocky.
work. So never done it again. Yeah, and then we did the garage.
And of course, you're blocked in by a car that's being driven by my friend Ira, the Met fan, who, if it's a 21 inning game, he's staying to the end.
Yep.
Right, zeros on the board there for the last 14 innings. You got any popcorn left? Anyway, you're out cold. Like,
I haven't stayed past the 6th, 7th inning in a long time.
Hard to watch. Anyway, they had one of those things where they had, I guess, Cliff Floyd, Mike Lowell. They had CC Sabathia, who lost a ton of weight, huh? What happened to CC? Did he have the bariatric thing or just did this on his own? He looks half the size that he was when he was pitching.
But he also got into it and lost a lot of weight, like made a focus.
Yeah. Maybe, and he had an alcohol problem, so maybe this was all part of his reawakening there, because he was probably the most entertaining of the guys by far, CC Sabathia, and there was a rotation of other guys. That Ryan Howard was part of the broadcast. It was actually pretty good. Whatever this new style is, because you're watching a game, you don't need to hear a guy necessarily pontificating about the merits of the 2-seamer versus the 4-seamer, even though they did a little of that, right? They would go and do one of those silly demonstrations like Jessica Mendoza, where they go over to. I always love that on the football pregame shows when they have like Terry Bradshaw line up a tackle against Bill Cowher, and Cowher drops back as if he's going to throw the ball, and they're all in suits and sneakers, and they feign a play, right?
They can't move.
You're like, well, yeah, that really illustrated it for me. I tell you what, when I'm watching a game, that's going to help a lot. I wasn't going to be able to really enjoy this game unless you guys had shared that insight into how these pass plays work. How stupid is that? What director came up with that as an idea and still has a job? Where they do the fake thing on the little pretend field, right? And they send some guy that weighs just like 500 pounds out on a pass pattern, supposedly, and then they act like they're going after each other. And Bradshaw finally throws a pass. It's like what kind of stupidity is all of that? Anyway, during the game now, all they're putting up during the game on the graphics, they have the guys on the left side of the screen in little boxes, even though they're sort of sitting, around in a sort of a semicircular arrangement in the studio, but it was good the way they did it. And they have the game, in a box now, and it's bordered by graphics, much like the Defo Show is. And what happens is the graphics are constantly changing odds. So I see now it's like the bottom of the 7th inning, and the Phillies are down 4-3. Looks like Fried is finished. And they post the odds that you could get 3-1 on the Phillies if you like them to come back at that point and win the game. 3-1 on the Phillies. And I was going to throw it down, Lubie. I really was. As much as the Braves have been hot and the Phillies, they don't have Bryce Harper. He's out with the broken thumb. And, they haven't really been a great franchise. I think they're like slightly over 500 this year, the Philadelphia Phillies. Does that ring a bell with you? Slightly over 500, but they're bottom dwellers there in the National League East. They're not catching the Braves. They're not catching the Mets, and they are going to be sitting around waiting for some of their players to come back late in August, if they come back at all, including Harper. But I mean, could they come back and get a run in 3 innings and somehow win this ball game, Lubie, at 3-1? All of a sudden, with 3 innings to go in a game, it's not like they're getting beat 11-2, and you're getting 3-1. It's not like they're bringing in position players like the Marlins did to pitch, and you're getting 3-1. You're getting 3-1 on a team that's only down a run at home. When the starting pitcher, who they got to a little bit early in the game, is about to leave the ball game, and the Braves are going to have to go to the bullpen.
Yeah, that's actually a nice spot.
This is the thing, though. I mean, is this the thing that's going to drain America of all of its money? Because you have to wait for the worst moments to make your bets now.
Yeah.
Just like we were telling, Mayo that when your team's down 2-0, that's the time to unload on them, right? When they're down 3-0 and losing 3-0 in the third period of a hockey game, now's when you send it in that they're going to win. Yeah. Mo, 200 on the Lightning money line. Yeah. I don't know. Would you be enticed to be making these kind of wagers all the time? When I saw that, it popped into my head, DeForest, if you were going to make a move, go ahead and take 3-1 that the Phillies can somehow salvage this game. And sure enough, what was the final? Philadelphia 6, Atlanta Braves 4, my friend.
Yep.
The bets you don't make, Lubie. But if I had that thing, I would have been broke a long time ago. Not that I wasn't at the time also, but really broke. Like loser leaves town type of broke. As in, go find another identity somewhere and see if you can, catch a room in a hotel in Costa Rica where you're going to go undetected for many, many years before they catch up with you. That chick didn't last long down there. That whacked that girl that was having an affair with her boyfriend in Costa Rica. You see that story? She got a nose job and left out of like Hoboken, New Jersey or something and flew down to Costa Rica and actually was like trying to establish a new life with a new identity. Like she was Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible or something. Didn't last long, man. They caught right onto her. Said, hey, it's you. And back in the States here, facing charges. All right, 8 pages on the baseball game. Mets-Yankees. 8 pages, Lubie. That's unreal. When would you ever see that unless this was like World Series Game 7?
I don't even know if you get 8. I mean, 8. Do they even have 8 pages in a sports section down here anymore? And they have 8?
I used to edit a 2-page sports section in the Fontana Herald News when I started this illustrious ride here in the sporting business world. And I think there was more content on those 2 pages than there is in like the Sun Sentinel and the Herald now, sports section.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
And those used to be 2 great sports sections, still with good elements, though. And the one, I mean, you talk about the guy that's got to take the flag when he leaves the press, the press room there at the Sun Sentinel, Dave Hyde. He's going to join us in just a few minutes here. Dave's got the book coming out. I've seen like preliminary
pre-sale. They're starting to do pre-sales. Yep. It comes in November officially, but pre-sales now for
Swagger with our man Jimmy Johnson. And that should be a beauty. I have to get a copy of Westhoff's book. How do I explain to this man that I haven't read his book yet? I mean, I feel like such a piece of shit for not doing this, Libby. But I don't read a lot of books anyway. But I'm being pressed, for my opinion about this book by Mike, who's done so much for us. How do I not read his book? Somebody please read his book and give me the cliff notes.
Just give me he's given us the gist. We've had him on to talk about this book for like 3 years. Like I feel like I have a good understanding.
Exactly, man. Like if you sent me a copy, I probably would have read a chapter when I was at the beach the other day. Nah, that's bullshit. I would have tried to read some of it though, because at least I could have captured the essence of the style, and it would be interesting to hear his stories, would it not? I mean, he's always fascinating when he comes on a show, and the total recall he has of all of this stuff is really. I mean, it's vintage by even coaching standards, which we have great respect for these guys. Oh, our friend Julian, we should mention this. Yeah, Susan Wallman, Radio Hall of Fame.
There you go.
With the Mad Dog, Mike Russo, both inducted or about to be inducted in November into the Radio Hall of Fame. That's pretty fine distinction, no?
Oh,
Can you believe it, John? You're not even in there, and I got my name on a plaque. Anyway, thanks, Julian, for reminding us of that. All right, we're coming back with more. Hialeah Park, a great place to go. Wow, tomorrow. Once again, they crank it up at Saratoga. Toga. And I can picture myself at the Brass Rail Bar with a cocktail, just sipping it slowly there. Yes, I'll have another just in a little while here. I'm sort of nursing this one, enjoying the atmosphere at Hialeah Park, looking out at the beautiful, paddock area there, and then going across the other side there, look out at the track, you take a deep breath, you go back inside, you inhale, and you go to your pocket and say, I'm sending it in on Saratoga right here at beautiful Hialeah Park. All of the simulcasts available to you. Well, what a beautiful arrangement they have in the Champion simulcasting room. If you're a horse player, you're really going to love it. And, I don't say this in any other fashion, but in all sincerity, I mean, of all the sports books, race books I've been to, I love Hialeah Park. I just love the way they put that together. It's absolutely fantastic. And it's right here in town in South Florida. Now, if you're visiting from out of town, you want to check out the beautiful casino, look around the grounds there. And it's still as fascinating and enchanting a place as it always was from the first time that I walked through the door. Brilliant action in a casino. Somebody just hit for 25 dimes, Lubie. Well,
Nice.
I mean, you're thinking at first, why isn't it me? But then you realize, maybe I should make more trips to Hialeah Park. Because, the slot machines, I don't want to, be disparaging about any of the action at other local casinos. But nonetheless, I would have to say the machines. Do the words ice cold have any meaning to you, Lubie? Ice fucking cold. Never the case at Hialeah Park, man. I mean, and even if, you don't have the greatest of luck, you're not walking out of there with 25 dimes, you're walking out of there with a smile on your face because you're going to have a good time. The poker room is fantastic. Food and drink is just off the chart and all at extremely reasonable prices. Great place for special events. Always exciting when they do something special there at Hialeah Park. And if you're having some kind of corporate party or a big celebration, 50th wedding anniversary, whatever it is, and you're looking for a place to party, check it out at HialeahPark.com and inquire about their catering and all of the services they have in that regard. They do a dynamite job, and you can't get a better setting. And look, it's like a casino night in a real casino.
There you
Who
go.
needs to bring in a bunch of guys with chips, and you're playing, and you realize I'm playing for nothing here. What am I doing? What's the point here? Playing for fun, huh?
Please.
I'll have another pretzel. I mean, you want to play for money, and that would be a great place to have any kind of party. We're still regretting the fact that Lubie didn't have the wedding there. Came close though.
No, we went down there. Her whole family came. Her whole family came only to two places. The place we went with, and Hialeah. Like, that's how close. I almost got her. I was real close. If it wasn't her having this thing with a farmhouse, she needed to have a farmhouse or whatever.
Oh yeah,
so it wasn't a barn. The barn was like sort of a stipulation.
That was a great idea. Let me congratulate her on that. Yeah.
It wasn't about me. Hialeah was the only place we saw that didn't have a barn. Like, that's how close we were to going to Hialeah. Like, I almost got her there.
And it was within 300 miles of most of the people's, home.
It was a lot closer.
Would have been a lot better, yeah. I mean, Magellan couldn't have found that joint. Incredible. All right, Hialeah Park, great place to have a party. We wish Lubie had his wedding there. It was memorable as it was, but I mean, it would have been even more so because it would have been a fond memory for us, and I would have stayed for the dinner.
I just stayed the whole time.
If Lubie had his wedding at beautiful Hialeah Park. I'm not sure, how that, relates to being a ringing endorsement, but no, it was. I mean, it would have been a great decision on your part. All right, Dave Hyde's coming up right around the corner. Dave, if you're not familiar with Dave, everybody in town is, of course, because he's been, a preeminent columnist here for a long, long time, and he's up there with any of the greats. I mean, Bob Rubin, Eddie Pope, Greg Cody. I mean, some of the fine columnists, Mike Mayo. Mayo didn't have the longevity as a sports columnist that Dave Hyde and some of these others had, and he was also versatile, Mayo, because he did a lot of other things. Hyde's great, though. I mean, and he wrote the book about Jimmy Johnson, or with Jimmy Johnson, Swagger. That's coming out. And then, of course, I would imagine he can weigh in on a myriad of things that are happening here locally, including Tua.
Oh, I love it. Those are the things I'm focused on is the fact that Tyreek can't praise him enough, and people are mad at Tyreek Hill for praising him. I think that's fun. And the Heat stuff, I think, is interesting. The fact that that Durant and Mitchell still are lingering. It's like either trade them or don't. But I don't understand this. Like, well, they won't. They like it's a romantic.
I mean, the holdout for this, giant cachet in return. Now the Celtics are, this is like the fifth team to get involved in this thing, where there are rumors and Woj and this and that, and supposedly offering a package that includes Jaylen Brown. And the Nets, I mean, what do they think they're doing here? They're stuck with a malcontent. I don't know if he's a malcontent, but an unhappy somewhat Kevin Durant, who is sort of a moody type of guy. Does he's not strike you as being a little bit moody
Moody's a perfect
and
word.
inclined to go to the dark side before, it's not like he's springing up in the morning and saying, hey, everybody, sunshine and happiness.
No,
KD, anybody want to talk? No, he seems kind of sullen and withdrawn.
Yes.
I mean, he may be just that kind of private guy. I don't know. Although he does go public
He's
with a lot of
involved in
things.
a lot. Yeah, no, he ain't public, private. He gets involved in everything. That's the problem. It'd be better if he was more like Jimmy Butler and just did his own thing.
He doesn't seem overwhelmingly comfortable though in the role that he has as a sports star, does he?
It's weird.
Like he doesn't wear it like a lot of guys do. Where
On the court, he's
you're
great.
saying, "Wow, this guy just loves what he's doing."
No,
Always like seeing that, right? Where a guy goes out there just like Pete Rose, he loved it, huh?
Yep.
But how is Rose out of baseball? Well, I mean, this is what they're encouraging you to do. They're encouraging you to bet the Phillies on MLB Network by constantly updating the odds and putting it. I mean, that is up there more than the guy's batting average and stats at this point. What the price is on the game as of right now. I mean, that game was not 3-1. You weren't getting 3-1 on the Phillies going into that game, even against Max Fried and the Braves. No way. If that was even a 2-1 proposition, people would have jumped on the Phillies on that price, right? There are only two teams involved. One has to win. So, I mean, I don't know if you consider that 50-50, but it certainly isn't as prohibitive as 2-1 against. And so here you are, 3-1. You're only down a run. And yet, I mean, shouldn't Pete be on there advising you that, hey, if you were going to go ahead and pounce, now is the time, people. They're completely, misguided about this guy. He is their savior of Major League Baseball.
Yes. Yeah. There's more credibility. I mean, I don't know if I would follow his picks. He seemed to do pretty bad, but he has credibility in talking about the action.
Fuck the Hall of Fame. Pete needs to be on the FanDuel MLB sports desk, doesn't he? Come on, Manfred, wake up. And if Pete wants Hall of Fame stature as a result of this, he's doing you a favor by only asking for that, right? It's not like the Kevin Durant deal where they want Marcus Smart also. And I don't know if they want Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, but I mean,
they want both. Yes.
Is it all bullshit? I mean, we don't know what's really going on with the NBA, do we? I mean, every time there's a rumored trade, it never happens, and then out of nowhere you say, "What? We got Jimmy Butler?" I mean, when did that happen?
That's my thing with all of it. Like I at this point, wouldn't you just stop talking about it and then move on? Like they keep forcing it in. Up today, it's like who cares?
Yeah, here's the latest supposed package. I mean, how insecure? Who puts this out there? The agents themselves? I don't know.
100%. The agents put it out there because the guys aren't happy and nothing's happening, and the reporters like making money, and the only way they make money. Like Woj wouldn't matter for the whole time. No one gave a shit about basketball until like October. And that would
there were guys that used to come out publicly and say they wanted to play with Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
Can you imagine, like Jaylen Brown? I mean, has he come out and said, "Whoa, I tell you what, this wouldn't be so bad. I get to play with Kyrie in the backcourt." He couldn't get along with Tatum.
Good luck.
Would seem to be more inclined to be, a more steady force when it came to consistent behavior. Yeah.
Oh, good.
And his play on the basketball court. Although Tatum kind of was a little bit of a weak lily there.
He was shaky in the big moments. Yeah, but
Brick City.
He's not a head case. Like no one's like
no. You get the feeling that maybe he could rebound from that and have a good, strong playoff next time out. But he did gag a little bit under the pressure. Jason Tatum, who was terrific, for so long for the Celtics during the regular season. Every now and then he would throw in a clunker.
Yeah.
But, that was while being triple teamed and, he guarded very aggressively, defended very aggressively. But the Golden State, they got to him, right? They just they broke him down at the key times. And meanwhile, there's Steph circulating like some kind of meteoric flash somewhere 40 feet from the basket. And, nailing every shot. Incredible as Golden State won the championship. Another thing you could have gotten pretty good odds on when they sucked, in the beginning of the season. Yep. All right, we're coming back with Dave Hyde, and we'll get into a bunch of stuff about the South Florida sports scene, the sports scene in general, football season on the horizon. Jimmy Johnson book coming out, so maybe we'll get some tidbits from that. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest. Thank you guys for tuning in to South Florida Live, the Defo Show. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox at 12 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Okay. And Mayo was at the home base today.
Yes.
Yesterday, he was shoveling blueberry macaroni and cheese in his face. That was cold out of the fridge. I mean, he's really eclipsed anything in terms of like. I mean, Neil Rogers used to have lunch on the air every day, catered by somebody, and it was great for whatever restaurant he was plugging. Mayo has pulled though. Did you see that, man? Like 84,000 on this Let's Eat South Florida.
Yes. It's killing it. It's doing great.
Yeah. So if he says blueberry mac and cheese, who's to say no? Huh?
It looked good. It wasn't really blueberry mac and cheese. It's like that's what the guy's calling it. Tom's calling it from Tom's Louisiana Kitchen.
It was like a cheese blintz.
Yeah, it's like a blintz in a bowl. That's what I being in South Florida. That's what I would call it. A blintz in a bowl.
Blintz in a bowl.
That's
Why don't we open a place called Blintz in a Bowl there and get Tom to be our cook there from Louisiana Kitchen? That'd be great. Blintz in a bowl. What'd you guys invest in? We opened up a chain of Blintz in a Bowl drive-through
can't go anywhere
fast food restaurants. Man. What are you selling? Just blueberry mac and cheese. That's it. And a potato
New
knish.
York and South Florida. Nowhere else would that work.
Not exactly the greatest business acumen applied in this particular equation, Lubie. All right, Dave Hyde coming up. He'll make some sense of a lot of things for us here on the show. Glad you guys are tuned in. Mike Mayo with the lunchbox at 12 o'clock today. We're a part of that. And Mayo's going to be on the road on Thursday with the lovely Nikki Mohan. It was worth catching on the show if you're a South Florida Live fan. Nikki Mohan, and they'll be eating Peruvian food. You'll be on that one, Lubie, which is great.
Bravo in Coral Springs. I'll be there.
Oh, right by your house, man. Nice.
Oh, God, finally.
There you go.
It's been all over.
You should insist on that more often. I find that works out very well. Especially, like I said, I filled up my tank, $4.05 for gas.
Nice.
Which wasn't bad, right? I mean, it's not good, but I mean, it's still not bad. And yeah, I mean, I actually got a full tank out of $55. Can you believe that?
There you go. Look at
55, and it was pinning into the full part. Where, like, you're thinking maybe I ought to just siphon off a couple of drops here so I can close the tank. It was great. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that
The time.
pinning into the full part. So 8:02.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
David, are the Dolphins evolving into a well-run franchise? Chris Greer has made some interesting moves. I mean, regardless of what they've tried to do, they win 5 games, 10 games with Brian Flores as coach and Greer as the main guy in the general manager's chair. Now, with this small little fire they had going with Xavier Howard, they managed to put that out and douse those flames before the season gets underway. What's happening with this Dolphin franchise? Is it possible that they are finally on a path to go in the right direction?
Oh, God, I hope so. How many years I mean, as a poor sports writer, having to cover mediocrity to less than mediocrity for most of 2 decades, I hope so.
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
just want to say I'm overwhelmed with joy to receive this great distinction, and I have to thank John Sterling for the fact that he allowed me to be his eyes and ears for so many years with Yankee baseball, and of course, George, I owe it all to him.
That was an excerpt from Susan Wallman's upcoming speech at her Radio Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show with Mike Lubie Lubitz. And speaking of Hall of Famers, I mean, this guy's up there with all of the greats. Now, when I came to town, it was Eddie Pope and Bob Rubin. Eddie Pope, Bob Rubin, Eddie Pope, Bob Rubin. They were the two top columnists here in sports. And then evolving, I mean, with the times and in a great era of South Florida sports, as we all of a sudden started getting every pro team, and actually we're part of the sports fabric here in the United States of America. Covering it all for us has been this gentleman, the great Dave Hyde, longtime columnist now with the Sun Sentinel, and right up there. I mean, you're up there in Eddie Pope type of categories. Jim Murray, I mean, Dave Anderson, all of the greats in sports writing history. Dave Hyde, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Defo, it just shows you stick around long enough, and all of a sudden you're. Call me the dean, right? Isn't that
There
like
you go, the dean.
the old phrase for old people? You know. So no, it's fun. It's been a fun ride, and here we are, another football season about to start.
Yeah, I mean, do I even ask you about like Tua? What do you think? Because that's been a hot question, and I kind of dig at this Tyreek Hill stuff. I mean, Lubie's like, well, you know, when you talking, everybody hates him now. It's about time somebody said something good about this kid. No?
There's a poll out. There's a poll out. Somebody put out the best coach quarterback combination in the NFL, and Tua and Mike McDaniel were ranked 32nd.
I love that.
I think they're in the final.
Wow.
They're in the final bracket of it, and it just shows you what nonsense the offseason is. All this talk about, are people too tough on Tua? Are they too nice? Are they too this? Are they too this? Thank God that this offseason is about to end, because there'll be 17 Sundays for Tua to show everybody who he is, and that's all that will matter.
Exactly.
How far behind Dan Campbell and Jared Goff were Tua?
Exactly. That's actually a combination.
Right.
Matt Rule and whomever.
Who's Washington's like Rivera and whoever the hell and who?
Yeah, Rivera and RG3 is coming back with the Commanders there.
And Carson Wentz. Okay, so maybe they should have been ranked 27th. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Well, unproven coach. I mean, the
fine.
guy hasn't coached a game yet, and Tua, unfortunately, is perceived in somewhat of a negative light. Most people feel like and look, I mean, how hard is it to say that maybe Justin Herbert would have been more of a prototype, and you wouldn't have all of this discussion if he's quarterback in this team? But who knows what your team would look like also. I don't know. I mean, do you give the kid a chance? I would have to say I'm willing to give it one more shot of belief before I throw in a towel on Tua Tagovailoa.
What option is there? He is the option. You're going to sink or swim with him, and that's how it's been since you picked him 5th in the draft, and you got to give them some resources, and they've done so this offseason. I mean, there's no faster team in the NFL than the Dolphins. They got him, hopefully, an improved line. Taron Armstead certainly is a pillar on the line as long as he stays healthy. And you got a coaching staff full of offensive line ideas, between Mike McDaniel being the running game coordinator.
For Shanahan, no slouch. Yeah.
Line coach and 2 offensive line coaches. So, I mean, all the pieces should be there. Can they put them together? And are they good enough? That's we're there. We're for 2-3 years we lived the tank experience, and now we're on the other side, and let's see where we are.
Well, my favorite, Dave, is the people that like, well, this is the pressure's on, and this is it, and can he take it, and how is he feeling it? And I'm like, probably happy. Like, he had a coach who couldn't stand him. He didn't even try to give him offensive coordinators that even were going to work with him. They never gave him talent anywhere. They had one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines in NFL history. I'm presuming now that he has a line and running backs and receivers, and they brought back the defense and a coach that actually supports him. I presume he feels better now than then. Like, it's a weird thing to me that they're like, oh, he's more pressure. No, probably has the right amount of pressure for a guy that's an NFL starting quarterback that finally has some talent around him.
100%. I agree. Why wouldn't he want all this? This is what he wants. Now he's got a chance. He has the opportunity to succeed. And, look, he's not an awful quarterback. The question is he an average quarterback, or is he a top, 8 quarterback, which you need to go to the Super Bowl? So that's ultimately the issue here. I don't think anybody's saying he's like that ranking, the 32nd in the league. But there is truth. The previous staff did not believe in him. They worked with him every day, and they were pushing him, and he didn't. For whatever reason, they didn't believe in him. Now they brought in a staff who, even before they met him, were saying how great he was. So, I mean, it's like two completely different narratives played out over this offseason.
All right. A lot of writers would say that they dread this time of the year. I mean, a lot of stories all based on speculation. Training camp coverage. Now, were you around, Dave Hyde, when the Dolphins still trained at St. Thomas University here in town, which was a dump of a facility?
Many years. In fact, I walked into that locker room once. Dan Marino pointed to the insulation falling out of the ceiling and said, when are you going to write about this?
Yeah. No, it really was like a dungeon, that locker room that they had there. It was crazy. And they had a big ice tub in the front of it, which, some lineman would be jumping in as you were walking in, and the, cold water would splash all over you like you were a deckhand on Deadliest Catch. And that was part of the charm of the place. But, and I'm curious because I remember sitting down like at lunch with Shula, and he would be holding court there. It's not the same anymore, and you don't get that kind of access. But what is it? I mean, as you go out to these training camp sessions, I mean, is there something that you still dig about going out there, to cover the team under these circumstances? I know the middle drill was a big thing when Jimmy used to take everybody out on the field. I remember like seeing Chris Chambers' very first pass. I saw this guy make some diving catch in the end zone, and you thought this guy's going to be brilliant, a second-round pick. I've seen guys carted off the field before they, even got hit once. They were like walking around cones. Is there anything that you specifically take away from like all the years of schlepping out there in the scorching heat of Dolphins training camp?
Well, what I take away from, say, the Marino years is the question was, would the football ever hit the ground during a practice? In other words, would he miss a pass, or would a receiver drop a pass? Because it was such a show. What you saw on Sundays, you saw every day in practice. I mean, Marino practiced hard, and the offense under him looked as good in practice as it did on Sunday. So there's something to be said for how a team practices. That's how they're going to be on, consistently on a Sunday. And so, I don't know what to expect from Mike McDaniel. I'm a little surprised. They've already said, well, he's only going to talk to the media 3 days a week, which, okay, he can talk once for whatever, but it's interesting that I've never had a coach not talk. 4 or 5. Shula talked every day. Times have changed. But it's interesting. They're already curtailing his outside demands, I guess, because maybe he's a first-year coach and they don't want him to be overwhelmed. I don't know. It just seems odd to see that.
He strikes me as the type that would want to be talking to the press.
I think that's scary.
And it's probably a good idea. I mean, this whole idea of clubs becoming more and more distant from the public. Here's a guy with a chance, to come in here, and what we've had the last few coaches. Joe Philbin was very friendly, but nobody wanted to talk to him. Even though he was a very nice guy. I mean, Gase was a strange man.
Most coaches want to talk to the press because they want to set the agenda. They want to. They talk to their players through the press. They set what their standards are or what their thinking is on issues. And Shula used to get ticked off if something happened at night and you didn't call him.
Oh, really?
Almost the opposite of what you would think. Oh, you're bugging me at 10 o'clock at night. No, he would get mad if you didn't call him because he wanted his voice in the story of anything that happened. And that sort of became my standard of, okay, this is how you operate if you're running a team. You don't want stories or issues out there without your stamp on, okay, here's my thought, or here's what most people should think, because it's what I think. And I guess we've got away from that. I'm getting
Jimmy
old.
was great, man.
Yeah.
Jimmy would just plant stuff. He would call the radio show in the morning on his way to, about to start a practice, and say, "Hey, you guys are going to have to come out here today because you're not going to want to miss what's going to happen out here." And now the whole town was like buzzing about what the hell is he talking about? It was great. He knew how to just play the absolute reverse role of a Belichick and have everybody sort of ingratiate themselves into the presence of what was going on with the Dolphins, even if it was bullshit. Because he'd come over and tell you that this lineman he just acquired off waivers was great, and then the next day cut the guy.
Well, Jimmy, every day at practice, they'd do their stretching, they'd do special teams for 15 minutes or whatever, and then they'd run the middle drill, 7-on-7, and you had to run inside. So it was you talk to the players on those teams, and that was they got up in the morning thinking of the middle drill and not with fear or excitement. And you talk to the coaches, that's how they understood, how training camp was going to be run and how they judged players. And you saw how Jimmy wanted to build his team, a physical team. So I mean, at some point, training camp is an exhibition or a demonstration of who the coach is and what he wants his team to be.
Always hated that when you knew in gym class you were going to have to go through some kind of torturous, exercise or activity, and the middle drill. I don't know. It's a horrible reference, Dave Hyde, but I'm thinking of some poor freshman tuba player that just got a scholarship to be in the FAMU band. And that would be like the kind of feeling you had. I mean, where oh great, I'm going to get like hazed, like I'm pledging some fraternity today at practice. And Jimmy relished it, and the media. See, this was the thing about coaches. I don't understand why they take such a negative approach. We salivated and hung on Jimmy's every word because he let us see this. Right? I mean, what did it take? It's not like we were going to be sending out encoded pictures of what went on to the Atlanta Falcons organization or something. And I think it generated a lot of favorable press for Jimmy throughout his career, which I don't know. Did he talk about this kind of psychological angle? Because he really controlled the media as well as anybody in the book that's coming out, which do we get our advanced copy? What's going on with Swagger, Dave Hyde?
Yeah. There'll be copies coming out. Defo, you guys are on the list. There's
nice.
Beautiful, man.
I'm officially done with it. It's now in the marketing end of the publishing house's
Did you get paid yet? Or are you waiting on that?
It's interesting. You get piecemeal paid throughout the process. So I'm about halfway there. When you can pre-order now, but it's coming out in November officially. That's when the release date is. So I'm just glad that you want to read something, Defo. What's the last book you read, Defo?
I hate to say this, but it was Slugger in Right Field by Roger Maris. A fictional story.
You got through Syracuse without reading. I know.
100%.
I did, yeah. I really did. I dated a lot of redheaded girls with freckles, so and that's kind of how I got through. Which you can relate to. I mean, Dave Hyde. Dave Hyde, outstanding columnist for the Sun Sentinel, with us here on the show, and it's always a pleasure. So Swagger coming out, and we're hoping. Now, are you going to be at various book signings and everything, or are you out of the picture after? I mean, does Jimmy just take over from here? How does that work? Because I'm hoping you get some royalties on this.
Yeah, it's mainly Jimmy. In fact, Jimmy just signed 2,750 that will go into books.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh
Oh
my
yeah, wow.
God, your arm. Your arm.
Only Joe DiMaggio. I mean, it's like he's signing bats in a hospital.
But we're going to be we're going to have a session at Miami Book Fair
Nice.
in November.
Oh yeah.
The week it comes out, and sort of a conversation. Jimmy obviously will be the reason people come, but I'll be there as a straight man asking.
Oh,
questions.
good.
So we're
good.
going to have a conversation.
Nice.
That'll be
You know, the Miami Book Fair is always annually circled on my social calendar, Dave, so I'm likely to catch you out there.
I'm sure it is. Yeah,
Lubie has something for you.
You are
Dave.
the literary.
Yes.
We call you the literary, radio guy.
Talk about Dean, the literary Dean. That's Jeff
Yes.
DeForest.
That's me.
So we talk about moves, and we've seen the Marlins. Usually they blunder when they do a big blockbuster trade. The Dolphins made a big splash this offseason, pretty exciting. And the Heat usually for better make these moves, and it usually makes them a title contender. The Panthers, for the first time, I don't know if ever, but in a long time, made a move that at face seemed, but the more you read, the more you look into it, it seems like the kind of move that this team needed to possibly take the next step. Matt could for Huberdeau and more. You follow the Panthers closely as anyone. We finally sort of got you on their bandwagon, so of course they then got swept by the Lightning. What are your thoughts on the big blockbuster move the Panthers made that seems to give them a little bit more toughness and also skill?
Yeah, I love it. Not everybody knows Tkachuk because he played in Calgary, and let's face it, it's the profile of hockey is just getting back because the Panthers are coming back. But he's a 100-point scorer who plays a physical game, which is, at the press conference, he had Bill Zito, the general manager, called him a unicorn. And that's about right. It's and you look at what the Panthers they played a great style in the regular season. The style is so entertaining. I think is referred to like the Harlem Globetrotter at the time. The fans chanting "We want 10 for 10 goals." It's a lot of fun, but it didn't translate into when things get a little rougher and close down a lot more in the playoffs. And Huberdeau disappeared and so what they needed was, some I don't know, grit is the right word, but some toughness, a little more toughness, and not necessarily beating up the other, but just playing tougher.
Yep.
And that's the kind of game Tkachuk brings. And he's a louder personality. You could just see it in his when he's talking. He's a fun personality, but he's as he said, I'm the opposite of Alexander Barkov. Barkov is a quiet, lead by example superstar, and Tkachuk is a talking, lead by playing, but also by his voice. You saw it right then. He's calling out Tampa Bay.
Yep.
We're coming after you. So it was kind of
good.
It was fun to see. And I think it's the type of personality that will help the Panthers.
I buy 100% into that after seeing this kid. I saw him on SportsCenter after the trade was made, and a very infectious personality. And if he, plays like he has, and it looks like he'll be around for a long time. Huberdeau was already, I can't believe it, in his 10th year. But the Panthers didn't have any personality that really stood out. I was looking at some stats, and they ranked very lowly in terms of attendance and attendance versus capacity, in spite of the fact that they had, as you said, Dave, a highly entertaining and overwhelmingly favorable home season, especially. They still weren't that big of an attraction. And then, naturally, with the bandwagon jumping that goes on anytime a team here is good, they caught a little bit of, activity from the fans and attention on TV once the postseason rolled around. And the only thing that a lot of people saw was them just in a deflating mode, getting swept by the Tampa Bay Lightning, and back to the drawing board. So it seemed like, at first you're thinking, wow, they traded Huberdeau. But this was going to be one of the most highly coveted guys out there in the NHL after scoring 45 goals last year. But after looking at it overall, it seemed like a very, very positive move on the part of the Florida Panthers, who at first you were shocked and thought maybe they were panicking and gave up too much to get a guy that is a star, but not necessarily worth the package they traded for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Kachuk's 24, and he's a complete player. He's a big physical player, and Huberdeau is a star who's more one-dimensional. He's a scorer, and that's it. And when he's not scoring, I mean, look, that's breaking it down. He had 10 good years here. He leads, I think, as the all-time scorer on the Panthers. So it's not like that. But if they were going to have to invest a lot of money in Huberdeau to keep him at 29, or do you put that money into a 24-year-old who's a better player? And then, you also gave up Uyghur, who was, on their top defensive set, set. So they gave up a lot, but that's, the way to look at it sort of is when Pat Riley traded makes a trade, who's coming back, and when he had Shaq coming back in return, they gave up what was basically everybody but Wade on that 2003-4 team, and people say, the easy thing would have been for the Panthers to run it back because they had such a good regular season last year, the best in the league, and they could say we're going to learn a lot. But if a guy like that's on the market, rarely do they come on the market like that. And so you understand what Bill Zito did. There's a gamble involved, but I think it's a smart gamble.
Yeah, Zito seems to have taken the team's philosophies in a more positive direction there. I mean, we all make mistakes, and not every move is going to work out, but for the most part, been very impressive and aggressive. He's become my third favorite Zito, behind Mike Zito, the guitar player and blues artist, and Nick Zito, the horse trainer. Bill Zito drafted right in there, very close. I mean, he's, with Nick kind of quieting down towards the end of his career. I got him maybe even drafting in there behind Mike Zito, who you should catch sometime next time he's in town. All right, quick thought. What rumor, Dave Hyde, and thanks so much for your time. Always a pleasure, my friend. But what rumor do you believe about Kevin Durant at this point? and or Donovan Mitchell? I mean, are we in the game, out of the game? What's the story? The Celtics, are they going to get Garnett back also? What's happening with that?
I'm impressed on the Zito, going back to that you put him ahead of Barry Zito. That's the only other Zito.
Well, who made a lot of money and did nothing. Yeah, unfortunately, Barry Zito really flamed out. Did he come back also play the guitar? I think, he became a country singer or something. Yeah,
he's a rock star.
As far as Durant, the Nets are doing just what you would expect them to do. They are in no rush to make a trade here. What would they? This is going to drag on until either somebody meets the high demand that they're putting out there, or B, we get to the edge of training camp and there's an intersection of Durant getting louder, saying he's not showing up, or and so the Nets feel the need to trade him. So this wasn't going to be a quick move, and certainly I'm sure some other team will surface at some point too, because this is how it is. The longer it plays out, but why would the Nets be in any rush to trade Kevin Durant? That's the thing. They're going to ask for the moon, and if some team gives it, they'll make the trade. But until then, they'll just keep taking offers.
Dave Hyde of the Sun Sentinel with us. All right, one more thing, because we've been trying to figure this out. And you know me, I still get my New York Post delivered to the house. I was holding it up earlier on the show for the people that are watching the video stream, Dave. And there are 8 pages of the Post tabloid sports section. 8 pages, all dedicated to Yankees-Mets and the Subway Series that begins tonight. And I'm thinking, I don't even know if it was worth a paragraph last night's Marlins game, but is there any kind of definitive direction that you can see this franchise has formulated at this point, or are we just going to be in an endless meandering sea of mediocrity and sub-mediocrity, at least for the foreseeable future with this team?
Yeah, they're just going around and around and around, right?
Yep.
I mean, look at the only way a team like the Marlins succeed in baseball is by making smart decision after smart decision after, and they can't miss.
Yeah,
because their error is basically nothing. And you look at their outfield. Look at the decisions they made to bring for that outfield. That's a disaster. Not only is it a disaster by their standards, it's an expensive disaster.
Yes.
And you start there with the management decisions. I mean, 3 and 4 years to guys who just aren't doing anything, and so they're going to be. Sandy Alcantara go out and have a remarkable season. He's having best season of any pitcher right now.
Yeah.
And then you see the other night, as usual, it seems as common, anyways. He comes out of the game with the lead and error in the ninth inning, and he loses his win. Now the Marlins came back and won the game, but they're. To me, the time to make a trade, if you're the Marlins, if you're the owner, if you're management, the time to make a trade isn't at the trade deadline when you say, okay, are we in or are we out? It was a month ago when they needed help.
Yep.
When Don Mattingly was doing everything he could and trying to mix lineups and find players and patch holes, and they were right at 500, and that was the time to make a trade. And instead they said, no, we're going to wait and see who we are. Well, if you don't know who you are and what you need in late June, it doesn't matter by late July if you pick them all. And that's where we are.
Such ugliness. Yeah.
Yep.
And this is very important because Kim Ng gets the distinction of being the first female general manager in Major League Baseball. And, you're looking at some of these guys. I mean, they have these schlepper bag lady batting averages that they bring up to the plate, even with their new acquisitions. I mean, I'm watching last night. This guy gets up there. He's hitting 209. De La Cruz 216. And you're thinking maybe they need to readjust. I guess they do, Dave Hyde, the Mendoza line in baseball and knock it down to 250 is to yesterday's 300. But you can't win with zero power. A bullpen that's inclined to fork over leads late in ball games. And, a team that's going to hit like 210 collectively. I mean, it doesn't work. So, and it's very uninspiring baseball, unfortunately. So they're off the radar. All right, Dave, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us here on the program. Are you schlepping out to training camp to do any Dolphin coverage today? And if you are, bring a lot of sunscreen, I hope, unless I guess it's kind of cloudy out right now.
Tomorrow or Thursday, and for the rest of the summer, pretty much. That's the story. The Dolphins are the story, right?
Yeah,
so football's back, and we'll be out there sweating and trying to make heads or tails out of what's going on at training camp.
Nice.
It's always great, Yeah, we would do the radio show with one of those giant fans they have out there, that are designed to cool down the field.
Yeah,
and it'll be right behind you, and everything will be blowing all around there. And then you couldn't wait to see what was in the boxed lunch. That was my favorite aspect of covering training camp.
We will be overdoing like when Tua threw a bomb, a beautiful pass to Tyreek Hill. It was suddenly treated like it was something out of the Super Bowl, and that was in June. And the previous year when he threw 5 interceptions, it was treated like the end of the world. And these are just off-season touchdown passes and bad days of practice. But we'll be out there pretending that all matters a lot.
Who's hot and who's not? That's my favorite thing. Who's hot and who's not?
My favorite is tweeting.
Yeah.
Every pass.
It's crazy, man. It's my sugar day. It's practice. It's Allen Iverson should be the commissioner of preseason football. It's practice. All right. Thanks so much, Dave. Always a pleasure. The book comes out. We'll see you at the book fair if we don't see you sooner. Hopefully we'll get together down at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill for a show before the book officially becomes out in publication in November. Swagger, Dave Hyde with Jimmy Johnson's story. And that's going to be a blast and should be a good read. And it's about time, I think, I sat down and read a book, Dave. So thanks so much for the suggestion. We'll look forward to the freebie. And always a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks, Defo. I kept the words at no more than 2 syllables, just to help you out.
Nice.
So it'll be great. All right.
Monosyllabic, yes.
Be well, Dave. Thanks.
Sounds like the beginning of a Jewish prayer. Monosyllabic, Lila Hazeh. Unbelievable. All right, that was fun. Dave Hyde, always great. The book, I've seen the cover, and it looks great. A picture of Jimmy looking very serious, Jimmy Johnson. And the book is called Swagger. Dave Hyde was a part of it. You know, Dave's a great writer, so that'll be an interesting read. And please get me a copy of Westhoff's book somehow by today, Mike. I can't dodge this man's calls anymore. I feel like such a schmuck not answering the phone.
I do.
You know me, I don't answer the phone anyway, but I especially feel badly about it now with Mike because he's called me like 100 times. He wants his, me to give him his, give him my opinion about the book. I'm going to say it's great, right? Well, what am I going to say?
I've read excerpts of it. Everything I've seen about it is amazing.
Yeah, people have very favorable reviews. Look, the guy, like I said, he as connected as anybody and remembers everything and knows the interesting aspects of, covering sort of the sidebar elements, of the game and what's important in terms of, having some kind of understanding. All of this technical stuff that people are giving you. I mean, after a while, doesn't it just drive you up a wall, Lubie?
Yes. I don't need all
paralysis by analysis of the technical aspects of baseball. I mean, you're watching a guy trying to explain how this stupid shift is working when the obvious answer is that these schmenks need to have some attempt in batting practice to hit the ball the other way, right? If you saw a gaping hole, there's nobody on the right side of the infield, Lubie, and you're standing there, how do you not attempt to hit one to the right side? All I have to do is, swing just a split second later, and that ball's going in that direction.
Well, practice
over in that way.
I just don't understand how once in a while, at least, like just to keep them honest. Like I don't understand. Look, every once in a while there was one guy, even Bonds, he'd shift a little just because they were trying to make up something. They couldn't get the guy out. So let's try. He's so good, but every guy, like literally every batter, there's a shift for. It's like they're Major League Baseball hitters. Like I was in Little League and guys are hitting the all fields. Like I don't get how like grown men who do this for a living can't hit the all fields. I don't get it.
Especially too, I mean, with the velocity that's being offered up there, everybody's mid-90s plus now. I mean, you would think, if anything, there would be a natural tendency to swing late on these balls. But they're so obsessed. Is that it? So obsessed with pulling the baseball, trying to hit home runs that, especially left-handers. I mean, it's a disgrace. Holy Rod Carew. I mean, can you imagine having a shift on Rod Carew? Tony Oliva, who just got into the Hall of Fame, very quietly into the Hall of Fame. I thought Tony Oliva had a higher lifetime batting average. Did he have a bunch of years towards the end of his career that took him down like Mickey Mantle? Mickey Mantle's regret to his grave was that his lifetime average fell below 300 as he played like a couple of, extra very lame seasons when he was a virtual cripple. Do you see this other thing? Why did we throw these things away, man? Andy, do you have a shoebox full of cards somewhere stashed away? I had that one shoebox that I saved of a zillion cards. Now, I don't think I ever possessed a Mickey Mantle baseball card. And we collected cards, very... I mean, we went out and bought 5 packs of gum with every quarter we had, the Topps baseball cards. Usually came with, 6 cards? And you would be so pissed if one of them was a rookie card. So upset. It was like, oh, my God. I remember thinking,
so funny.
Who is this Yastrzemski?
Oh, my God. The rookies were the only things we wanted when I was growing up. The rookies are the only ones that mattered.
We hated him. I mean, you're looking at a guy and you're thinking, no one can pronounce this guy's name. It's Carl Yastrzemski.
Oh, my God.
I must have, and if I had one, I had like a dozen Carl Yastrzemski rookie cards. Somehow I saved one, and it was even in crappy condition after flipping it against a wall, and because those were the first cards that you gambled with when you were playing various games where you acquired the other person's cards. The early roots of degeneracy, of course, where we're flipping baseball cards, were they not? Yeah. Pitching quarters, that was big. Pitching quarters, ever do that? Pitching quarters, closest to the wall gets all the money that's out there. But cards, you could win a very generous pot. You had to be somewhat selective with what cards you used. And we thought nothing of throwing like a dozen Yastrzemski rookie cards against the wall there. And say, go ahead, take them, you know what? And here, take my 5 Harry Cheaties while you're at it also. I don't know why I had like 400 Harry Cheaty cards when he was a expansion draft selection of the Houston Colt 45s. So what year was that? That was 1962. I mean, if I had 4,000 cards, 1,000 of them were Harry Cheedy, who was like a third-string catcher for the Colt 45s. Forget who he played for before that. But those are the ones you were flipping, rookie cards and schmucks. And now, I mean, this Mantle card. Now, nobody would have flipped a Mantle card back then. I mean, if you had a Mantle card, you were keeping it. You were almost like Costas. You were going to shove it in your wallet and put it away there for safekeeping forever, and cherish it and hold it close to your heart. But and I must have had like a 1959 Mickey Mantle card at some point in my life. I want to say, because that's the year I remember, the pictures and the way the card was designed. I think it was at its best in that era. You know, unless, you know, I don't know. Have they've modernized these cards to the point where, you have to look at them, you know, through like, you know, some kind of day glow, you know, arrangement. I don't know. And, they got very, very sophisticated. But
it's crazy. They do deals with guys where only certain companies will have guys now.
Yeah.
Which, it's crazy to me that not every company gets to have every player. Like, that's nuts.
This Mantle card, which I believe is from, is it 1952? Is that possible? Or 62, is going to sell for $10 million. A mint condition Mickey Mantle card. So I don't know if it's. I don't think it's his rookie card, but it might be. If it is, I mean, look, and the guy bought it at a card show. The guy who owns it now, that's going to sell it for like $10 million. He bought it in 1991 for $50,000, which you would have thought was outrageous. Correct?
Yeah. That's a nice amount of money.
$50,000 for the Mantle card. I probably would have sold it for the $50,000. Never held it this long for $10 million.
Oh, for sure.
I would have sold it for $2,000. What are you talking about? But I retained none of that, right? That was the thing. It was almost like, you know, your bar mitzvah. You turned into a man, and you no longer wanted to be attached and associated with collecting baseball cards. So you would take your whole collection, throw it up in the air in the schoolyard, announce to everybody that this was happening. Like, hey, 3 o'clock today, be there. DeForest is throwing his whole collection of cards up in the air. And it was like, you know, a graduation into manhood of some sort. How stupid were we to buy into that, right? And the guy that picked up all the cards, he's probably living in the Hamptons today. Yeah. Some little fat kid. You know, we were thinking, hey, look how pathetic little Johnny looks on his hands and knees, stooping like he's at the racetrack trying to pick up losing tickets. And, you know, but I mean, it was nice to share that with everybody. But all acquired through gambling for the most part. Those baseball cards. Yet we thought nothing of these rookie cards. And then you see this. And even more modern cards, right? Like LeBron James cards are selling for like 10. How is that possible, Lubie? Where
that's what is weird to me. Current players like Lucas are selling for thousands of dollars, and I'm like, he's playing now and he's like 22. I'm like, what?
Oh.
Like it was always guys had a game value, and then it was like at the end of their career, after they're going to really worth something. Like while they're playing, you can make new cards. Like that's what I don't get. Like he's going to play, God willing, another 10 plus years. Like why is his card worth? I'm like, okay, you people who are collecting cards have no idea what you're doing then. That makes zero sense to me.
Andy, I was in the same boat, man. Andy writes in on a chat line that he had a zillion Camilio Pasquale cards. I did too. Jim Hickman, I didn't have that many Jim Hickmans. Of course, we love Jim Hickman because he was a Met. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. Don't forget about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Maybe we can do that with Dave Hyde. I would love to make that arrangement. I did hear from Tommy Fox, you know, who is a bit of a mysterious presence in the program's production and the activity here. Because he is our guy down there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, along with John Kajemi, who is Kajemi coming back? He's got to be out of training camp every day. Are we okay with Kajemi, or did he quit the show? What's happening with that?
That was contingent on Big Chill. From what he told me, he wants to come back in August, is what we were shooting for, and hopefully that happens. That's my hope.
Yeah. Now I'm really hoping he comes back. You know, if it's contingent on that, because that would mean. You know, that the relationship that we've had with Jimmy Johnson's Big Show, which has been sensational, is going to be ongoing. And it's always going to be exciting now that Lubie figured out a whole new thing with the South Florida Live technical aspect. I think our broadcast from the Big Show would be very simple to execute, would it not?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, yep, we're mobile and we're ready to travel. And we'd love to go down there because it's a great day, period. Sometime in August would be perfect, wouldn't it? Get down there, get Dave Hyde to come out, Jimmy come out, join us there. Maybe we get Leslie Fisher to, come on down to Key Largo. And anybody that's watching the show, welcome to join us out there because it is a good time. It really is. If you haven't been there, they have great food and drink, a very, very, very eclectic and extensive but not expensive menu. So, you're going to love all the different choices that you have, whether you're looking for like a romantic sunset dinner there with some very high-end seafood, or you're just looking to schlep around and watch a couple of ball games, listen to some music, and have yourself a giant plate of those pork nachos. You're going to love everything about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Right there on the bay side, absolutely beautiful view, stunning view of the bay, and you can't feel any more refreshed and reinvigorated than you will if you're sitting there in a pool with a cocktail and or at the restaurant or taking advantage of the water sport activity at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And, of course, it's right there, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. Very easy to get to and well worth the trip. Check out their website, jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. Larry Calvano and the people that are involved in the ownership there. Just absolutely fantastic. And you know that Jimmy's going to have a place that's going to create a great vibe. Do you not, Lubie?
For
You
sure.
ever associated Jimmy with like having a lousy, bummed out time? Oh, geez, we got to go listen to Jimmy Johnson. Always inspiring, as is Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, 12 o'clock today. And hope people caught our Michael Rappaport Believe podcast yesterday.
Yes,
That was
sir.
fun.
It was fun.
No bigger Nick fan, huh, than Rappaport? Is he up there with Spike Lee?
He's
You
up
would
there.
have to think. Up there with anybody. Spike Lee would be number one, would he not?
Yes.
Rappaport, two?
Rappaport's definitely top 5, I would say.
Who
There's
else
a lot
is-
of big-time Nick fans.
Who else is among the celebrities there?
Jay
today-
Ferrara of Entourage was a huge Nick fan, but I don't know how celebrity.
Turtle?
these
Are
days.
you
I mean,
kidding me?
decade.
What's he done
So-
since? It's not like
But
he's
I
doing
think-
Shakespeare in the
I'm
park.
trying
huh?
to think of like there's tons of wasn't Woody Allen at one point a big
Oh,
Nick
Woody
fan?
Allen, yeah.
Celebrity, yeah. I mean, it's the Knicks, so there's a ton of celebrities that are also Knicks fans. So
It was weird, before he settled down when he would bring like a variety of 12-year-olds to the game.
well, now with this stuff, exactly.
Such a great comedian, though. I mean, it's like the whole Michael
That's right,
Jackson
exactly.
thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, my God. What an artist. But, talk about the Live Tour guys and the blood money. They had nothing on these guys. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. Back with more in a moment. Now that. 8:47. The Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Mr. Pentangeli, were you a member of the Corleone family? Did you serve under capo regime under Vito Corleone, also known as the Godfather?
I never knew no Godfather.
Mr. Pentangeli, you are contradicting a sworn that you previously made to me in sign. I ask you again, sir, here and now under oath, were you at any time a member of a crime organization headed by Michael Corleone?
I don't know nothing about that. Oh, I was in the olive oil business with his father, but that was a long time ago, that's all.
We have a sworn affidavit. We have it. Your sworn affidavit that you murdered on the orders of Michael Corleone. Do you deny the confession?
Look, the FBI guys, they promised me a deal. So I made up a lot of stuff about Michael Corleone, because that's what they wanted. But it was all lies. Everything. I kept saying, Michael Corleone did this, and Michael Corleone did that. So I said, yeah, sure.
It's now time for the Defo Show.
All right, that was very appropriate and a good call by Mattingly May in his role as producer of the Defo Show, in addition to being really the number one talent on the program, Mattingly May, with a tribute to Paul Sorvino, who, of course, known for his role in Goodfellas. The potentially testimony is appropriate because at first, every time you start playing it now, it sounds like an excerpt from the January 6th Capitol hearings. I know nothing about that. Right?
All sound the same.
The Trump guys come walking in there. What happened at the Capitol? Looked like a tourist day. Okay. I'm arguing with my friend yesterday. I don't even know why. But
Why?
like I said, trying to arrange a tennis game. This guy's telling me that Donald Trump was the greatest thing that ever happened to the American presidency. And I said, I mean, I don't know. I mean, even if you're just a blind, one-minded, just solidly behind this guy. I mean, you had to think, what a schmuck.
Yeah, that's douche.
At the very least,
I don't think that's
like just a weak, pathetic schmuck. I don't care if the country had risen to levels of greatness that were unprecedented and hadn't been seen this kind of turnaround since FDR. I mean, when you look at the guy, just a smarmy guy, period.
Yes.
Hard guy to like. Hard guy to like. I'm sorry, people.
Yes. No one liked him. That's what's weird. The people that back him are the people that he made the most fun of. He was Mr. Yankee.
Yeah.
Like, that's what my favorite is, the deep Southerners that love Donald Trump. I'm like, I thought so, and it's fine. I'm glad that they're embracing the North.
Yeah. All these hillbillies love him, man.
I just didn't get it. It was
And my Jewish friend.
Again, he hates everybody.
Which is very uncharacteristic. I mean,
I don't get it.
If you wanted to categorize the Jews, you would have to think that most of them are, like myself, are full-fledged, voting in a liberal light. All right. Well, anyway, all that being said, Paul Sorvino checks out. Sorvino was great in Goodfellas as Paulie. There was a story about that where Sorvino apparently didn't want to play the role and asked Scorsese to get out of the movie Goodfellas because he wasn't happy with the portrayal that he was giving of this character, and he was like a gruff sort of a gangster type, and Sorvino was tired of the stereotypical stuff about Italian mobsters. And then they had him, just go ahead and do his own thing as kind of a subdued, laid back, criminal, and it worked. I mean, and the rest is legend. So we've lost a lot of our favorite crime and mafia movie stars and portrayal people, including Paulie Walnuts. What is it? Steve Siripa? Is that the guy's name that checked out? From the Sopranos. Ray Liotta, of course, was the star of the Goodfellas movie, which is a classic. I mean, I don't know. I take Goodfellas, I think, over. Is this blasphemy to say, Citizen Kane breath? Yeah. Over The Godfather? I mean, I love the Godfather movies. Don't get me wrong.
Godfathers are slow to me. Like Goodfellas moved. Like a lot of those movies because they're trying.
It made you laugh, right?
It did everything. Like Goodfellas did everything, and that's why Goodfellas is right up there with all film, let alone gangster mobster movies. To me, I I like it more than Godfather, but again, I'm younger, so maybe it hits different. I don't know.
Goodfellas was a movie too that you could take certain things from, like Jersey Kyle, and I always deemed it a Jimmy Conway when you would like shove a 20 in the pocket of the bartender before you sat down to start drinking, and say here, put that in your cup, right? Now you haven't even had a drink yet, right? And you'll notice in most cases you're going to get a very generous pour at that point.
Yeah, that works.
Right, so if you're not looking for a couple of drinks where the guy's got an eyeglass out like a monocle, like he's looking at a diamond and he's going to measure the shot, you just say, here, you Conway the guy, right?
Yep.
You need a seat at the Borgata, you Jimmy Conway the guy. Before you even say anything, you go, here, this is for you and the crew here. You guys are doing a nice job. Now, is there any chance of getting a seat with my racing form? Do you have a player's card? No. No problem, Mr. DeForest. Just sit right down. What name would you like us to put on the reservation? That's the way it works, right? That's the way the world, and that's something you could have taken away from the Goodfellas movie. And then, of course, the classic scene in the jail there, where he's. How many times have you done this when you're in the kitchen there and you're thinking, "I'm Sorvino, man. I'm just going to shave this garlic with a razor blade." It was great. And Meshuggah in nature, when Leota was great when he was on the drugs there. I mean, he really played that role extremely well.
Yep.
Probably, you would have to say that was Ray Liotta's shining moment, no?
Oh, yeah.
As an actor.
And he
did other things, yeah.
He did a lot. But.
So we lose him. James Caan, of course, Sonny from The Godfather. Everybody loved James Caan in that movie. James Caan, still classic in The Gambler. I mean, and Sorvino was in The Gambler also, the original Gambler. Sorvino was the guy that was telling him to, hey, listen, man, you better straighten up, man. This is no joke. Oh, no, he was in the remake of The Gambler. Well, wasn't he? He was the guy that was involved. Yeah, that was too early on. Yeah.
I mean, Sorvino did a lot. That's probably why he...
Sorvino was in the Wahlberg version of The Gambler. Anyway, yeah. I'm imagining, naturally, this was unfortunately my first thought, was that as great as he was, I'm figuring somebody hit the Deadpool that I'm involved in with Sorvino, no?
Yeah, you should be getting there. I mean, he was a big enough name, and he was old
83, enough. Yeah. He was around. I had Ozzy Osbourne a long time ago, and Ozzy apparently is like the Ben Roethlisberger of rock music, where you can't kill this guy. It's incredible.
Which was weird.
No, and then he had like some bizarre surgery and all kinds of stuff. Nothing stops this guy. Amazing. The best possible thing you could have for your longevity is to have me draw your name in the Deadpool.
You'll live forever.
You're guaranteed to live forever. Now, as soon as the pool is hit, you're vulnerable again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's happened to you like 2 or 3 times.
Tommy Lasorda checked out. I mean,
Betty White.
many others. Betty White. I had White. I should be rich off of this Deadpool. But no, I can't catch a break. It's unbelievable. Anyway, Sorvino will be missed because everybody loved Paul Sorvino.
Oh, yeah. No, he was great.
Yeah. He was on TV, too, in one of the cop series, wasn't he?
Law and Order. He was on. He played both sides. He played both the cop and the mobster. Yeah.
No, he was terrific. Anything he was in, he was very believable, and he really played those roles extremely well. What was fantastic as Paulie, of course, in the Goodfellas movie, which that's one of those movies I could watch another 100 times. Oh, Karen, that was all we had.
The best when he runs out of the car.
Often quoted line amongst my circle of friends. Karen, that was all we had. All right, the mail card, man, unbelievable. Going to sell for. I had the information on this. I didn't want to mislead anybody, and have you think that it's anywhere in the same ballpark as these Camilio Pasquales. That wasn't he with the Twins, Camilio Pasquale?
I've never heard that name actually. Andy's took
pretty good pitcher, man. I mean, like reasonably, I mean, I don't know. He's not a Hall of Famer, I don't think. I just lost it anyway. I had the whole thing about the Mantle card. I want to say it was probably a 52, no, something like that. Was Mantle around when did he break in? Mantle mid 50s.
Yeah, 50s.
I should know this. Yeah, so it wasn't a 52. It might have been a 62. So could have been in my hands. Could have been in my hands, Lubie. What would you have done with it? You saved all yours, and
I save everything. Yeah, I have them in boxes and plastic. Because my dad always told stories about how he did the stupid stuff with the spokes, which I never understood. And then he had comic books, and comic books actually for a while they were worth way more than baseball cards.
Yeah.
And he because it was in the 60s, he had originals, and those are the ones that are really worth.
Oh, the Superman comics.
He actually kept them But my grandmother, God rest her soul, when he was in college, was cleaning out the closet.
Oh, and
It wasn't even him; it was her who threw them all away.
Oh God!
So because of that, I grew up with that in my head. So I kept all of them. They're still in my parents' house in the closet, like in boxes with plastic. And I don't think I have a lot that are worth much, but just I keep them, And I even if they were, I probably wouldn't sell them. Why not,
Here we were, like, saving certain coins, thinking that was going to be the way we made some kind of score later on, and buying U.S. savings bonds because we believed in America, my friend. That might have been the biggest ripoff, right? You had to pay like $18.75 for a $25 savings bond. So 7 years later, if you saved this thing, you picked up $7.
And Mantle started in the early 50s. 51 is when he made his debut.
Oh, okay. So the 52 card might have been a rookie card.
Also, check out Mayo's Lunchbox at 12 p.m. You'll see more
Mayo's
of us.
Lunchbox, yeah.
Different roles. And tomorrow we're kicking it old school with Tony Segredo. Thank you to Texas Roadhouse and Catholic Health Services.
Very good. We'll have the trivia challenge. I believe Gurgle's back from his worldwide travels in the Maldives.
Yep.
And Friday, a Degenerate Friday. And you can catch our Believe podcast also later on today. As we featured yesterday, if you didn't get it, we went about 7 minutes with Michael Rappaport before there was a guy in the background going, wrap it up, wrap it up.
Those are the weird.
That was our allotted time slot. Yeah, those are weird, right? Because by the time you say
like
hello and start the music,
you can get 10
it's
minutes.
pretty much over, right? You need a standing 8 count.
I don't get.
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. It was a lot of fun being with you. Tony will join us for a little old school. Tony Segredo, that's always great. And for Mike Lubie Lubitz, I hope everybody has a great day. I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in. Always a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
Time.
It's 9:01.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.